moving on, our next speaker, Dr. Anubha Singh, is the Vice Chancellor of Alliance University. Before assuming this responsibility, Dr. Singh has worked in many different capacities at the university. She has established 47 partnerships with reputed universities in 15 countries. She has developed 23 exchange programs, 11 dual degree programs, 9 credit transfer programs, and has been very effective in making significant contributions in the field of sustainable global development. She has provided consultancy to Microsoft Research Lab India for parallel corpus for statistical machine translation and annotation and verification on the multilingual system research. She has presented papers in several conferences, conclaves, and summits around the world. As a cross-cultural management and strategic communication trainer and consultant, Dr. Singh has closely worked with leading international and Indian multi-organizations. I would now request Dr. Anubha Singh to address the gathering. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. First of all, good morning, everyone. And it's my pleasure to be here. I'm immensely delighted to be here today on IEEE Indian Language Symposium. And I must extend my thanks to Mr. Arun Tansali, Chair IEEE TEMS Bangalore, Mr. Bindu Madhava, BS Chair IEEE Bangalore, and Dr. Hemant Darbari, former Director General CDAC, for organizing such a great platform today, which is so very pertinent at this stage in India. So in next few minutes, I'll be talking about national education policy, way forward for technology development in India. I would say technology development for Indian languages. Give me just a few seconds to do the initial setup. Well, I would like to show some slides. Yes, can you see the slides?
Yes, it's clear. Thank you. We can see that.
All right. Thank you very much. So as I was saying, it's really my pleasure to be here, and I'm extremely thankful to the organizers. Whenever we talk about language and literature, it's customary to talk about classics, and let me start with that. So as early as more than 2,000 years ago, the ancient Greek scholars have begun to study language. And till now, language has become the central topic of Western humanities. Not only linguists, but also philosophers, psychologists, sociologists, scholars, people from technology field pay immense attention to language. So what is language? What are the special features of human language? The solutions of other problems related with language, for example, the meaning of language, the use of language, the rule of language, the scope of language, the relationship between language and other research fields are always on the understanding of language. If it is a linguistics discussion, we must mention Chomsky. So modern linguists, mostly influenced by Chomsky, pay much attention to syntax. Chomsky's challenges structural linguistics and his syntactic structures and introduces a theory of transformational grammar. The basis of his theory is that underlying structure of human language is decided biologically by the human mind and transmitted genetically. Chomsky emphasizes the biological basis of human language and sees it primarily as a mental faculty, which is unique development of the human brain. So human language is innate, universal, and different from other animal communication modes. His evidence is the fact that human baby can acquire its native language successfully in little time, but animal which is exposed to the same linguistic data could never acquire the language ability. So in Chomsky's view, the most distinguishing feature of human language is productivity or creativity. That is to say, human beings can produce and understand an infinite number of sentences with a limited set of grammatical rules and words. Whereas Aristotle puts forward many profound and enlightening linguistic views, many contemporary linguistic theories can be traced back to these views. To say Aristotle has made similar argument more than 2000 years ago. So many scholars have already paid attention to Aristotle's discussion on language, which focus on two aspects. Aristotle's philosophical language in the background of philosophy, including the essence of language, cognition of language, meaning theory, the relationship between language and reality, and secondly, Aristotle's viewpoint about language in his Organon, discussing Aristotle's influence on language made by his logic works. So on one hand, Chomsky stresses the syntax of human language decided by human mind. Aristotle emphasizes the semantic scope of human language endowed by human mind. So syntax and semantics here. So in Chomsky's view, human language is innate and universal. The task of linguistics is to discover the universal grammar of human language, because human mind is an innate mental faculty, which is the same all over the world. In Aristotle's view, the cognition of good and bad, of right and wrong, and of other moral qualities is a special feature of human mind. But all these values are not innate, but social. Human beings have to learn these values in the society and also learn to use language to express these values. So what is innate and universal for Aristotle is not human language, but voice. The reason I'm saying all this is language and culture are inseparably entwined with each other, as they are interconnected semantic systems which give their speakers a sense of experience of togetherness. Therefore, when a language collapses, it is the collapse of a large symbolic system taking place over a long period of time. This means that the gradual demise of a language also results in the loss of regional cultures, linguistic societies, arts, indigenous knowledge, customs, and much more. So at a time when phrases like endangered language are invoked to describe the plight of India's vanishing linguistic resources in their encounter with the phenomenal growth of world language such as English, and with the loss of around 250 languages since the country's independence, and over 600 languages being at the brink of extinction at present, the country is at the risk of losing its varied indigenous wisdom and ways of life. As a response, the national education policy presents itself as a potential solution to the challenges that regional languages face, and this policy will serve as vehicle for promoting the vitality, versatility, and stability of these languages. NEP has been announced in line with the public aspirations and according to national needs and challenges. For the first time in the country, this is the use of technology in machine learning, artificial intelligence, and translation has been emphasized in a policy document. This is the third policy in the country, which, when I say third policy, third education policy. But this is the first time when technology is emphasized so much. Emphasis has been laid on study of Indian languages, classical languages, and Sanskrit. The education system has four major dimensions: students, teachers, curriculum, and infrastructure facilities, which include even the technology. So keeping these four in mind, at the policy level, special emphasis has been laid on language multilingualism, language education, teaching, etc. And the new policy will help in contributing to the development of Atmanirbhar Bharat. If it is implemented well with better coordination and with other policies, then it will be a far-reaching policy. So the next few minutes, I'll be talking about that. Moving on to the next slide, let me spend a few minutes talking about national education policy and regional languages. So the policy envisages a paradigm shift in the way regional languages are involved in education. These changes can be summarized as An Indian Institute of Translation and Interpretation will be established in order to create high quality learning materials and other important written and spoken materials available to the public in various Indian and foreign languages. National institutes for languages like Pali, Persian, and Prakrit will be set up for promoting the development of these languages. Sanskrit and other classical language institutes in India will be strengthened to provide robust multidisciplinary programs and teacher training courses in collaborating with existing universities. Academies would be set up in each of the languages mentioned in the 8th schedule of the Constitution of India, with the goal of formulating accurate vocabulary for modern concepts and constructing dictionaries to improve the use of regional terms and common words. All languages of India and their associated arts and culture will be documented using a web-based platform in an effort to preserve the richness of these languages and cultures, as well as to protect the endangered languages. High quality study materials will be prepared for school students in their mother tongue as well as in English. Higher education institutions will be encouraged to use the regional language as a medium of instruction, or to offer bilingual programs as an effort to strengthen Indian languages. Courses and degrees in translation and interpretation will be designed and implemented for the higher education sector to preserve and promote regional cultures and art forms. Industry 4.0, or the fourth industrial revolution, requires preparing learners with a range of competencies, including language proficiency, effective communication in diverse languages, intercultural sensitivity, analytical and critical thinking, problem-solving skills, and creativity, which extend beyond the content knowledge. With rapid advancements in technology and the pervasiveness of communication technology, allow me to discuss how education sector witnesses the radical changes that are affecting pedagogical changes today. Also, the vision regarding education in regional language shared by NEP is vital in sustaining our constitutional goal of India as a land of pluralities, with multilingualism being one of the foundational elements in our mosaic of multiplicities. In the earlier system, even while attempting to promote multiple languages, the Indian educational system had inadvertently placed greater emphasis on English as the language for pedagogy. Naturally, it came to be seen as the language for upward mobility, especially for the rural sector and the lower and middle classes. So on mother tongue education, as the participation of students from rural India in higher education grows exponentially, the nation has to address their need of wanting to educate themselves in languages that they are familiar with as opposed to English. So more importantly, by regionalizing education, NEP's goal is to link together the experiential wisdom of indigenous epistemologies with that of objective and analytical knowledge systems of the modern world. It will be a fusion, a beautiful fusion that will at once preserve and propagate these knowledges that might otherwise get lost. This shall create a new India lived by an intellectually inclusive population, inclusive linguistic diversity, who have imbibed the rich diversity of the nation. NEP has understandably taken the right step towards ensuring the protection of these languages through the policies. Considering how Herculean the task will be, it is heartening to see that several education institutions have come forward to offer technical courses in regional languages within the first year of NEP itself, and thereby paving way for multilinguistic academic space within India. And due to the introduction of these new courses, regional languages have been elevated from the status of being a second language in higher education to being the primary language of instruction. Even as early as 1867, native scholars writing in regional languages such as George Matheny had pushed for an indigenous educational system with the language instruction being the mother tongue. So let me move on to the next slide. addressing the challenge of incorporating marginalized language. The greater challenge in this regard, however, lies with the question of how dying languages, that is, those having less than 10,000 active speakers, can be accommodated within the new policy. Naturally, offering an entire course in such smaller languages would be very much unviable. It's not practical. This raises a question of whether we are creating the distinction between numerically, culturally, and politically strong Indian languages and the minor languages spoken by ethnic and linguistic minorities in various states. Even as elective language within the three language scheme that policy talks about, languages such as Sanskrit, Hindi, Urdu, Tamil, etc., would have takers from across the country. Whereas fewer states may opt for regional or even tribal languages, official languages such as, let's say, Bengali, Gujarati, Malayalam, etc., would have the benefit of being associated with a state and have its socio-political backing in terms of promoting language learning, even if it doesn't have takers outside the state. When we take into account the privileged position that certain regional languages may hold over others from underprivileged communities and regions, it will truly be a challenge to preserve some of these dying languages. Interestingly, Section 22.19 of the National Education Policy can be taken as a direct response to this particular conundrum of preserving marginalized languages. The development of a web-based platform for preserving all Indian languages and their cultural and artistic expressions offers a clever resolution to the challenge of not being able to incorporate them into curricula. Now here you'll see, so I was talking about the syntax as well as semantic two schools of thought. So here you'll see that the policy is considering both, is also talking about preserving the art and artifacts and culture as well with the, of course, medium of language, and that too on a technological platform. India's technological potential can help to create and collect an audio-visual repertoire of regional languages and cultures. This platform will be the first of its kind in the country, where ground-level documentation of folk and regional literatures, including the recordings of people speaking, narrating, singing, and performing in regional languages, get a fair space amidst academic scholarly studies. It is often the case that academic studies or projects in regional languages remain strictly within the ambit of scholarly spaces of certain journals, and the general public would generally not benefit from them. Let me read an excerpt from the policy. The policy document reads, "The platform will contain videos, dictionaries, recordings, and more of people speaking the language, telling stories, reciting poetry, and performing plays, folk songs, and dances, and more. People from across the country will be invited to contribute to these efforts by adding relevant material onto these platforms, portals, or even wikis. Universities and the research teams will work with each other and with communities across the country towards enriching such platforms. These preservation efforts and the associated research projects, that is, for example, in history, archaeology, linguistics, etc., will be funded by the NRF, the National Research Foundation. Through the formation of an online archival system that brings together the scholars and the practitioners of language or of a culture, a more inclusionary vision can be implemented, where both intellectuals and people who are passionate about the linguistic cultures come together to preserve their knowledge for future generation. And all this will be possible with the help of technology. The audiovisual archives comprised of folk songs and tales, art forms, artifacts shall forever preserve the culture ethos or the cultural ethos of these linguistic cultures. The cross-cultural interaction that this portal will facilitate shall help Indians take great strides to further India's post-colonial goal of multiculturalism. So let me now move on to the next slide on promoting translation. That's what's discussed in NEP. The aim of teaching in regional languages shall result in greater emphasis being placed on translation. As always, translation shall pave for intercultural knowledge, pooling and sharing. India, as one of the ancient centers of knowledge and as the land of linguistic multiplicity, has a rich tradition of translations and adaptations that stand witness to a creatively heterogeneous past. The development of study material in regional languages would require a never before seen effort from translators in those languages. A potential challenge could be that there might not be enough qualified and experienced translators in each of these languages. So a lot of measures have to be taken to ensure that this challenge is overcome easily. The government will have to establish centers or institutions like the National Translation Mission to spread scientific and academic knowledges in Indian languages and provide hands-on training to aspiring translators. Dictionaries on certain disciplines may be brought out through a collaborative effort between linguists, subject experts, and technology firms, so that there will exist a standardized vocabulary for technical concepts. College students who are mostly bilingual may be encouraged to take up training in an Indian language, preferably their mother tongue, with a special focus on linguistics and translation. Translation grants should be set up to support the translation of text between Indian languages as well as from international languages to Indian languages, considering the relevance of the text of the advancement of academic studies in various disciplines, such as science and technology. Now, teachers who teach in regional languages should be given additional training to gain a sound, robust understanding of the language and develop key competencies that will aid them while translating technical matters into the regional language, and also technological training for them. Along with this, NEP has suggested several measures to improve the quality of teaching, along with educational use of Indian languages, towards training of continuous professional development for teachers. Use of technology platforms will be available to train teachers through online mode. The teaching scriptures of school education will be translated. Enriching the corpus vocabulary in the Indian language, spreading propaganda, reaching the people, modernizing, establishing translation and interpretation institutions. All these have been taken care of in NEP. If it is implemented well with great coordination with other policies and even with industry and the private sector, it will be a far-reaching one. The recent rise in epidemics and pandemics forced us to search for alternative modes of quality education. Information communication technology should be utilized to fulfill the current need of alternative mode of quality education. In normal situation also, Indian students staying in rural or suburban or remote villages need the digital platform to attend online lectures and e-resources to get quality education. NEP has given focus on how to build and enhance the digital infrastructure to transform the entire nation into a digitally empowered society and knowledge economy. The policy has proposed various new initiatives like the National Education Technology Forum, NETF, that can be utilized as a platform to discuss and exchange ideas relating to teaching, learning, evaluation, training workshops, etc. for school and higher education. The policy also focuses on creation of e-content, electronic library, electronic repository. The policy proposes to make electronic contents more creative and engaging for students with the help of techniques like simulation, augmented reality, and virtual reality. Policy prefers to make the content using symbols, characters, stories from Indian art, culture, and mythologies, should be in Indian languages so that it can appeal to learners and students can directly connect themselves enthusiastically with the resources. It proposes to develop a variety of educational software for students, teachers, lifelong learners, as well as for differently abled persons. Now, the training and incentive for teachers regarding utilization of technology in NEP focuses on establishing virtual labs for conducting practical classes, online assessment and examination. And the policy also insists on generating more e-content based on moral values, tradition, and culture. The education policy understands the benefits of online or digital education cannot be leveraged unless the digital divide is eliminated through projects like Digital India campaign and availability of affordable computing devices. It proposes to build a dedicated unit for the purpose of orchestrating the building of digital infrastructure, digital content, and capacity building. And all this will be created by the ministry to look after e-education needs of both school and higher ed. Thus, the policy has provided a clear plan to create quality e-contents that can be monitored and evaluated in various languages by various subject and technology experts. It has effectively tried to reduce the digital divide prevalent in Indian society. It has also effectively tried to reduce the linguistic divide prevalent in Indian society. It is focused on reducing access dividing by promoting the need of digital infrastructure, as well as it also focused on usage divide by minutely looking at regional languages, endangered languages, and how technology can help in not just making these alive, but bringing the entire, the social, cultural aspect on quality e-content. A very challenging task. So let me, in the next slide, talk about the pedagogy and training of teachers. Teachers are supposed to possess essential skills for integration of content with adequate pedagogy and content with suitable technology skills. Still, there's a challenge ahead, which demands adequate blend of technology with pedagogy and content knowledge. This integration of technology, pedagogy, and content knowledge is referred as technological, pedagogical, content knowledge, or as Mishra and Kohler call it TPACK. The TPACK is not a simple combination of technology, pedagogy, and content. Rather, it demands interactions and connections of technology with pedagogical knowledge, pedagogical content knowledge, and according to the TPACK framework, specific technological tools, hardware, software, applications, associated information literary practices, etc., are best used to instruct and guide students toward a better, more robust understanding of the subject matter, even if it is language training. So the three types of knowledge, the technology knowledge, the pedagogical knowledge, and the content knowledge, are thus combined or recombined in various ways within this framework, as you can see. Teachers have initiated the integration of technology with the content and pedagogy at various levels. You see that in, let's say, creation of MOOCs. However, there is urgent need to realize the extent of content, technology, and pedagogy integration being practiced by the teachers, especially when it comes to linguistic training, so that the required input can be provided for further improvement of this area. So this is a great area for research. Moving on to the next slide, advanced technologies and increasingly complex economy demand students to possess broader knowledge and more specialized linguistic skills, I would say, even than before. At Alliance University, the Department of Language and Literature prepares students to get ahead in a world where communication has become increasingly paramount. The ability to parse text, tackle ambiguity, persuade rhetorically, and command multiple languages has never been such importance or such significance in as many vocations. The department teaches students to critically engage with linguistic and literary texts for furthering the grasp of meaning and deepening the insights in all the situations that life throws up. Alliance Department of Language and Literature has expertise in a diverse array of research areas, ranging from translation and media studies to literature and science, to medieval literature in Kannada, to cultural studies in Hindi literature. We encourage academia and industry to exploit the depth of knowledge in the faculty to further their own ambitious research goals, and industry to collaborate on various research projects, including translation. NEP policy and language education serve as vehicles for promoting the vitality, versatility, and stability of Indian languages, and ultimately promoting the rights of the speakers to participate in the global community. With rapid advancements in science and technology and the pervasiveness of communication technology and language, of course, language in our lives, the higher education sector stands witness to radical change that are affecting pedagogy. So if language and technology requires collaboration, then partnership could be the way of future of higher education. Every collaboration starts with a desire to initiate change, to make scholarship better, to make education better, and to make the world better. With this, I would like to end the talk. Thank you very much.